The window game. The purpose of this game is to summon a creature to come to your window at night. It knows that you're awake, or if you look at it, that the creature will take you to another dimension forever. Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. To carry out this ritual, it's said that at 12 midnight exactly, you need to go to your window and look out at the great midnight sky. If you're looking out into the deep depths of darkness, you need to concentrate on summoning an entity. You need to concentrate and think about how much you want an entity to come to your bedroom window. You do this when it's time to go to bed. Lay down in your bed and face away from your bedroom window. About 30 minutes after doing this, you'll be able to hear knocking on your bedroom window. The knocking will start out softly. Whatever you do, don't turn to look at it. The rest of the night until sunrise, the creature will be at your window just like this photo here. Continue to knock at your window for the rest of the night and peek through trying to get a look at you. You're completely still in your bed for the entire night. It can't know that you're awake. When the sun rises, the creature will leave and you'll be safe. If you end up looking at it, or if it knows that you're awake, take you to another dimension where you'll be lost forever.
Like, the second you look at the photo, you already know that there's something wrong with this. This is a photo that is known to cause what is referred to as the Mundy effect. But really quick before we jump in, a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Picnic. This is your go-to app if you want to dive into communities and feeds with like-minded interests like true crime. I've got the link up in my bio, so make sure you download Picnic today. Now this was traced back to an inmate's booking photo. No idea who it is. It's an unknown person, but it's estimated this is around like the early to mid 2000s. The longer you look at this picture, you're probably starting to feel the effect. What's discovered is that after this picture made its way off of databases through emails and eventually onto the internet, it had a consistent and profound effect on people. Those who looked at it realized that the longer they stared, they became unwell physically, mentally, they had increased levels of anxiety. Although it's been studied and they've coined this the Mundy effect, it's not really known why this picture has that effect.
Working overnight at a hospital sounds terrifying. A few years ago, a woman was working an overnight shift in the dementia ward of a hospital, and she went to go check in on one of her patients who had aphasia, which means that she couldn't speak. But it seemed like the older woman was trying to communicate something to the nurse, and the nurse got a really bad vibe. She's like, okay, something's clearly wrong here. When all of a sudden the woman with aphasia starts shaking, she looks terrified and she points at something behind the nurse. But when the nurse turned around, there was nothing behind her. The nurse is terrified, but she finishes her shift. She has to clock out downstairs in the basement of the hospital, and it's like 3 a.m. at this point. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she hears this clanging noise. So she peers around the corner into the hallway, and there's just a knife laying in the middle of the hallway. No explanation. I actually shared this scary story and a bunch of other hospital-related scary stories in this week's episode of the podcast.
The Clown Puppet Creepypasta. There was a family that consisted of the mom, the dad, and 3 girls. Christmas was coming up, and the youngest girl asked for a doll for Christmas. On Christmas morning, the kids tore open their gifts, and the youngest girl received a clown puppet. Even though it wasn't the kind of doll she wanted, she loved the clown puppet, but 2 days after Christmas, she ended up going missing. Nobody could find her and the case went cold. The next Christmas, the middle daughter asked for a clown puppet to remember her sister. She received her clown puppet on Christmas morning, and then 2 days later, she went missing. And the same thing, the case went cold. Now it was only the oldest daughter left, and the next year, she asked for a clown puppet for Christmas to remember her 2 younger sisters. She received a clown puppet, and then she went missing as well, and she was never found. The parents got really broke and they had to start selling stuff for money. One day they went into the attic to look for things to sell, and they saw the clown puppets. The puppets were sitting 3 in a row on chairs that were handmade out of lollipop sticks. Sitting in front of each puppet was the severed head of each girl.
I honestly don't know how to explain it. It's like when you look at this picture, something feels wrong with it. This was a recovered photo off the digital camera of Michelle Fong. What makes the photo unnerving is that shortly before Michelle had passed of her own doing, she had made these claims that there was a girl, an unknown girl who had been watching her. And these police, they would end up getting about 3 of her friends who testified to this, that in the weeks to months prior to the tragedy, she had been saying this. It was assumed that this was probably some kind of a fixation of her mental health issue. Maybe even a delusion until they found her camera. This picture that was recovered off of her memory card and completely changed the story. Just one frame of an unknown girl who seemed to be staring at her down her school hallway. School faculty as well as students were interviewed, and they were never able to identify that girl or determine whether or not she was connected to Michelle's death. The camera and memory card are eventually submitted for evidence, but that still leaves us with a question. Who was the unknown girl in the photo?
Possession caught on camera.
Possession videos are a no-no. Like, that's like a scary shit to watch.
Yeah, possession. I went to watch Pray for the Devil, and it was about possession. I felt very uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
But I still watched it because I'm a champ. But that shit felt uncomfortable.
Like, every time I watch a possession video, I'm like so like cringing and eerie about it.
Like,
I
get bad vibes. I'm I literally go like this.
I don't like this audio.
I know the audio's going crazy.
I'm gonna back it up a little bit. Hey, bro. Who's that? I don't know. Oh, George, that's a good one.
crazy,
I gotta take off my headphones,
bro. I'm scared because what if someone pulls up on us?
Have you ever wondered how accurate police sketches are? I'm going to show you a sketch, then the person, and we're going to see. And this is part of a series, so make sure you follow along. This is the Unabomber, probably the most famous police sketch ever drawn. And this is what was seen in 1987 by the only woman to ever see him in action. He'd go on to mail 16 bombs across the country over the course of 18 years. And this is a picture of a young Ted Kaczynski, the man that did it. The Unabomber was incredibly hard to catch because he lived in this shed and was a total recluse. It was actually his brother's wife that suggested that Ted was the Unabomber because she recognized his writing style in a letter that he had written to authorities. Thank God for observant women, and let me know if there's anyone else you want to see.
I think that there is a murderer, like, in Chicago. Like, I think that
It's like nobody is talking about this story, and this is legitimately happening in Chicago right now. As of right now, there are about 11 young men, kind of oscillating between their 20s to 30s, who have been found drowned in the Chicago River. There are a lot of eerie connections here in terms of age, in terms of cause of death, the areas where they go missing. What I found really odd about this is that police are not saying anything. The press isn't saying anything about this. Why? A lot of people are speculating that because there's an ongoing investigation, that police are keeping everything very hush because they don't want to release very specific details. Details that could let the suspect know that police are onto them. But at this point, they're not even conceding to say that there's any connection between these 11 murders in Chicago. Independent journalists are picking up this story, but the news is not, and I find that really strange. 11 men? 11 young men all found in the river? Something's going on.
Let me tell you a scary story. An economics professor at a local college made a statement that she had never failed a single student before, but had recently failed an entire class. The class had insisted that socialism worked, that no one would be poor and no one would be rich, a great equalizer. The professor then said, okay, we will have an experiment in this class. All grades will be averaged and everyone will receive the same grade. No one will fail, but no one will receive an A either. After the first test, the grades were averaged and everyone got a B. The students who studied hard were upset, and the students who studied little were happy. As the second test rolled round, the students who studied little studied even less, and the ones who studied hard decided they wanted a free ride too, so they studied little. The second average test result was a D. No one was happy. When the third test rolled round, the average was an F. As the test proceeded, the scores never improved, as bickering, name-calling and blame all resulted in hard feelings, and no one would study for the benefit of anyone else. To their great surprise, all failed. And the professor told them that socialism would ultimately fail, because when the reward is great, the effort to succeed is great. But when the government takes away all the reward, no one will try or want to succeed. And that is socialism, my friends. A race to the bottom.
Most unusual deaths in human history. Anthony Hensley was kayaking across a pond in Illinois when he accidentally got too close to a swan's nest. While trying to row away, he fell off his kayak and the swan drowned him underwater. A 14-year-old boy from Texas was playing hide and go seek at 3 in the morning. While trying to run around, he couldn't see all that well and ran face first into a bull statue. Wanting to reap the benefits of cold exposure, Chelsea Aki Salvacion decided to try out cryotherapy. However, during her session, the machine was set incorrectly, causing all oxygen to be eliminated inside the chamber, suffocating her to death. King Henry I died after eating too many lampreys, a type of jawless fish. In 2013, the corpse of 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found rolled up in a gym mat at his high school. Police originally concluded that he had tried to grab his shoe and became trapped, but in 2021, the case was reopened and is believed to be a murder.